All right, we're back. We're live. What's up, party people? My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. I'm excited about today's episode, especially I'm joined by with Noah. Noah, how do I pronounce your last name? Shkoman?
Oh, it's difficult. Schürmann. So it's a
Sherman.
tough one to be honest. Schürmann. Oh, that wasn't too bad, yeah.
So Noah is a Berlin-based founder operating at an unusual intersection. Deep financial market expertise on one side, applied consumer AI on the other. His career arc cuts cleanly across the world's investment banking, digital world, and now health tech. So he's building a really, really interesting meditation app that I'm super, super excited to, kind of peel back on. So Noah, why don't you just kick us off? Tell us a little bit about maybe the app that you're building. And just tell us a little bit about, maybe a paragraph or two on it, and we'll come back to that topic as well, kind of, near the last third of the interview.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sunny. So we are building Silo, which is a personalized meditation app. And the way it works is you share some of your personal thoughts, your struggles, your goals, your desires, whatever it may be. And then the AI tailor makes a meditation just for you for the right moment. And we don't even stop there. We kind of take you on a journey to continue to meditate, to build up a routine out of this. And so far, it's been going very great. We got amazing feedback from a lot of users. Obviously, there's a bunch of things we are currently improving on. We're improving on every day, and it has been an amazing ride so far.
Meditation might just be the most high leverage, I don't know, exercise, whatever you want to call it, that I might be aware of, right? Like it almost has this like capacity to just do a 180. Like if you're feeling down or feeling uninspired or stuck or broken or whatever, you sit down for like, 3 minutes even, you close your eyes and all of a sudden, you come out of it like a new person. So I
Yeah,
am I'm really grateful that, that and again, I said we'd leave it to a couple paragraphs, but let's just go a little bit further, right? So Headspace, right? To call out the pink elephant. That's the only app
go
that
for
comes
it.
to mind when you think about meditation. I loved how you explained kind of the limitations, right? Because I felt the same type of kind of vibe, right? When I don't know, I didn't feel like I was growing, and I didn't feel like the app was growing with me, if that makes sense. And so
That
I don't know. Do you want to talk
it,
about like what you guys like? What's your kind of unique insight there is?
it does make a lot of sense, and I'm saying this as someone that has followed Headspace for many years. I've used it for a long time, and followed the, let's say, stories of Andy, who's the founder of Headspace. And two things I was always wondering about, and one was the biggest problem for me. There's 800 meditations in the app now. I think it's even like in the thousands. And I always chose the one that is 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 15 minutes because I have 15 minutes of time, but it's never the one that actually fits my needs in that moment. And that kind of was like one thing I was always unhappy with. And the second thing is that that doesn't really grow with me. It doesn't really learn anything about me. For me, meditation is a quite personal topic, and at least what I spent and my thoughts during the meditation are super, super deeply rooted in my personality or in my struggles and my fears and my goals. And this app that is supposed to cater me these, after years of using the app, besides my username and my login, and some sort of pattern. Okay, he usually takes a 10-minute meditation, doesn't know anything about me. And I thought, okay, that's quite odd. And then mixed at the same time with this feedback I got throughout working in finance from a lot of people. Yeah, meditation super esoteric. That's like almost a religion type touch there. I'm not going to do it. I don't think it has any sense, and etc. etc. And I think always when there's a huge misconception in society, there's also a big opportunity at the same time, because meditation for decades has been proven to help you reduce your cortisol level, improve sleep quality, reduce your HRV, your like heart rate variability. I don't know anyone here following Brian Johnson, the longevity guy. He said after years of experimenting, triggering, and like tracking all his vitals. The most important thing for his health is sleep quality. Sleep quality in itself is mostly like determined by your resting heart rate before you go to sleep. And meditation has an amazing impact on especially your resting heart rate. So that alone can also help you improve your sleep, which then has magical impacts on all sorts of life, which I found just phenomenal, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if it was something just happened. I just saw a bird run into a window here beside me and like collapse to
Wow.
the ground. Yeah, he probably
Ah,
needs a bit of meditation. So
it
Noah, I'm
does
gonna
need
I'm
it.
gonna I'm gonna break off the beaten path. Like I usually I have like a bunch of questions that I usually prepare. I've prepared those as well, but I'm gonna take a little different route today just because this is such a I think an important topic and a topic that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm gonna just riff. I'll go back to my questions if I run out, but a couple of things I wanted to ask you. So religion and science seem to be really at the opposite spectrums of like, of reality, let's call it, right? And so how is it that is it like how did meditation rise out of religion? And how is it that now, thousands of years later, the science is actually proving that this type of practice has this immense, health benefit and scientific benefit. Like, have you kind of peeled back the onion on that one and gone back
Wow,
in
that's a,
time and like, I mean, it's probably too big of a question to even try and
no, it's a
tackle, but
very
like,
it's a very good question. I think it has I think there's multiple ways to go there, and generally sitting down with your thoughts in silence is a part that happens in almost, I think, all of the religions or the big religions in the world. Not only in Buddhism, that is very intertwined also with meditation, but also in Christianity and in all other big religions. And I think in that process of us, at least in Europe, a lot of times spending less and less time in the church. In Germany, everyone goes to church once a year on Christmas. We don't pray anymore. We don't spend the time sitting down in silence. And my guess, without actually knowing the details there, would be that all these people back in the days that were praying a lot of times, right, in the Middle Ages and before, um, they were onto something, even though they couldn't prove it yet.
interesting, interesting. And you brought up another thing that I think a lot about. What's the difference between prayer and meditation?
Oh, I mean, I'm not a theologist, so I'm not the best person to tell you what's the ins and outs of prayers. But I would say, at least that's how I learned it. If you pray, you sort of most of the times pray to some higher being, to someone. And for me, meditation has been mostly focused around myself and my thoughts, and maybe finding some sort of silence and not rehearsing some verse I've learned in the church for years and years. But at the end, I haven't read any research on this, what happens on a biological level, but at the end, most of the times you sit in silence and you're just focused on one thing. So I can
Yeah, it's
imagine that
it's
there might be similar effects.
I don't know if this resonates or not, but I always saw prayer as like, I mean, even the word God is so like loaded, right? I don't know. I use the word God and universe kind of interchangeably, but prayer to me strikes me as like me asking the universe for things, whereas like meditation seems more like you're just instead of sorry, it's prayer seems like me telling the universe what I want, whereas meditation feels more like you're just listening to the universe to tell you what you I don't know. I don't even know how to articulate this. I have no idea. So anyway, let's go back. I guess so. Let's put the meditation stuff on ice a little bit. I'm really curious how you landed here. So you grew up in Germany, but you spent a year in California, right? In high
Yeah,
school. What did
I
that
did.
year teach you about yourself?
Wow. That's a good question. So to be really honest, I learned in the US how it feels to be the one odd one out, sort of, to go to lunch and not have the group of friends that always joins you for lunch, but look at your lunch break and you're like, hmm. I'm here on my own. I have no one because, of course, if you start in a new country, nobody knows you. Everyone was super friendly and interested, but then get like an actual friendship doesn't happen overnight. So I learned kind of what it means to be, yeah, sort of what it means to be the odd one out on one hand, and on the other hand, since I went with a charity organization, Rotary, I was very fortunate to be at multiple host families. All of my host parents, so to say, were entrepreneurs, and I got this American mindset that if you want something, you can do it, and there's no dream big enough. And that's something, sadly, in my opinion, that we're missing in Europe and especially in Germany, where everyone just looks at the risks of things and looks at the downside. And I love this US spirit. If you want to do it, you can do it, and you will do it. And that's kind of what I tried to take on with me back to Germany afterwards.
So were you the kid in school who already wanted to start a company, or did that come later and more from like kind of the experience you had in the US?
So it came after the US. I did my Abitur, what we call like A levels in Germany. And it came then that I wanted to start right away working, definitely. So I always had this dream of starting my own company. I'm not sure. I think I didn't share this with the whole world back then. I think they all knew in my school in my last 2 years that I was the guy trading stocks during the lessons, which was fun. Made a lot of mistakes there, and then I started working in finance, working at a bank. And back then, I really wanted to work. I remember going to the university to purely study felt to me like sitting on the bench, but I wanted to play on the field and start scoring some goals. So that's kind of the path I took then.
And what pulled you into finance?
Mm, That's a good question. I think it was also one of my uh, let's say dads in the US that I've worked with. He kind of introduced me into his his business and explained to me the numbers and the details of it. And if people think about California, I think most people think like Silicon Valley, tech entrepreneurs, etc., etc. But most people from numbers in California actually do farming. So it's a huge farmland, and what he did was buying and selling grapes, and he still does that. We like rarely talk, but he still does that, and he kind of introduced me into his business, into the finance of it, and I was super eager and interested, and I thought, okay, I want to go somewhere where money plays a role. So I went on to a bank, to Deutsche Bank, where I started in this investment banking program, let's say.
Mm, mm. And like you spent, real time inside of like risk management, capital markets. So what did that show you about how the system actually works?
So generally, that's also something that part of the reason why I left finance after a while is that everyone is just doing a quite normal job, but using crazy words to do so. So I think they always hide behind this IB, CIG, FCG, FX, whatever abbreviations that make it look sound cool and slick. And at the end, a lot of the work I've done in the, let's say, very investment banking part thing, if you want to call it that way, was picking up the phone. Someone told me four numbers. Okay, I want to trade euro dollar 400 million at 110.15, and I said no, it's 110.16, and then he said no, it's 110.15, whatever, and then he screamed at me and I hung up the phone. He did the deal, he didn't do the deal, whatever. Yeah, but what did I do? If you strip away the trading floor and the shiny suit and all of this, I was saying four numbers, he was saying four numbers back, we typed that in, and that's kind of it. So that was this whole like trading floor experience for me. I loved it. When I had 10 minutes of my time, I could just sit there and listen to it, and I just loved the atmosphere. There were super incredibly smart people there. Imagine like people waking up at 4 a.m. doing jujitsu, then bringing their daughter to school, then coming to the office still before me. And were super educated and at the same time incredibly humble, which I found really like astounding. I remember at that time.
And then, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, Noah.
No, no worries. Like, not nonetheless, the risk management part, which I was also in Berlin, I enjoyed in a very different way much more because it was very quantitative and very complicated, I would say. I would think of certain portfolios and risk correlations, whatever, use like the tools back then, Python, Excel. And one of my colleagues, he was involved in like a calculation, helped me out there. And after this portfolio, whatever was hedged or was set up in the correct way, I kind of had no one to cheer this to. You know, nobody understands what's going on there. And also, frankly, nobody really cares if your balance sheet was risk optimized of that bank of whatever. Like, I don't want to die knowing I calculated some risk my whole life.
Mm,
I don't know if that makes
mm.
sense to you.
And was there like a mentor? Yeah, of course. Was there a mentor? And I spent a lot of time in financial services as well. I ran my own brokerage almost 15 years ago, and I felt the same thing that people use big words to try and explain things that they barely even understood.
Mhm.
And I don't know. For me, the math just didn't seem to add up. Like, uh, like when you actually peel it all back, and it all kind of comes down to one thing, which is this index chart that goes up 10% a year forever, and somehow
Yes.
we're supposed to like believe that it'll continue. And why? Well, don't ask. It's whatever happened in the past will happen in the future, but then you're also told you're never supposed to say that. It's like all these weird things. Um, yeah. Anyway, so looking back, like I guess was there like what I was wondering, was there a mentor or like a boss early on who kind of like changed your trajectory?
Mm, they were there were several ones actually along the way. During the time in the bank, there was definitely two people that were quite influential and that I admired from an intellectual point of view. That were, yeah, I would prepare some calculation and break my head 2 weeks time, spend everything on this, and then talk to my boss, and he would change my world in 10 minutes. And I was like, how is this possible? So I was really eager to get there and to learn these ways, but never really. Then at some point, never really followed that super quantitative field. My One of my mentors that really influenced me was my first boss at the asset manager I worked at. Uh, I remember during the interview process, I looked in his blue eyes and I felt like he looks through my soul. And he is intense. He's very intense. He still works in asset management. And uh, he hired me and helped me learn so many things. Also, after he left the company where I became then a team lead back then, we were still in contact. We're in contact today. We even called today, so we became like great friends later on. But he has really helped me understand and learn how to lead people and how to motivate people. I think that's
Was meditation something that was part of that culture, or did you have people kind of in that world that was nudging you in this direction, or was it completely divorced from it?
so that mentor guy. He actually did meditate, but that never came up during our time working. And also while I was working in the bank, he didn't ever, like, nobody ever talked about meditation or mental health, nothing at all whatsoever. Never ever. If you talk about mental health, you were just considered weak or whatever. It's very, very healthy. But I think maybe also back question of the time. No, my mom, she has a doctor in psychology, and she kind of recommended like, hey, maybe think 1 or 2 seconds about this meditation stuff. If you want to go down that path of having very intense work life, it might make sense to take care of your mental health as well.
Interesting. So your mom's a psychologist and she
Yes.
suggested meditation? Is that normal? Like, I mean, do most psychologists meditate?
No, no, no. To be frank, because I have a lot of friends that are therapists that always tell me
Mm,
to make sure where the border is between medicine product and not medicine product, etc. My mom spent most of her time working in a company and actually back in the 80s worked on the first parts of AI, whatever was AI back then, not nothing compared to what we have today, of course. Um, but for some people, in some ways, it plays a role to do meditation or meditation like parts in therapy.
interesting. Cool. So look, I guess before we switch gears, looking back, like what part of that early Noah is still kind of like the operator running Silo today?
Oh, that's a fair question. Mm, I have to think. Um, I think the this combination of, you know, try to make everything work, and whatever setbacks come up, you still can make things work, but also try to make important decision based on a clear head. I think that's some of the learnings also I had, that if you have some big decision coming up, speed is not, especially in the days of AI, speed is not really, in my opinion, the most important thing, because you can be super fast with AI. It's just a new website, a new tool, a new feature, a new whatever. It's just one prompt away and it's like 5 to 10 minutes, maybe it's an hour. It's rather on where you want to go, and therefore taking that time, take a step back, breathe for 10 minutes, and then make a decision. So, and while still this eager young person that just runs out and does a ton of mistakes and then stands up and says, okay, we did a lot of things wrong and then we try again, that is still alive, of course.
So you moved from investment banking to Liquid, right? Then from wealth
Yes.
management to elderly care, then to building an AI meditation app. So
Mhm.
that's an interesting path, right? So kind of what's the thread that kind of, ties it all together?
So I would say one part of it is just sales. I have been also in the elderly care platform I worked at. I was also responsible for sales on the mostly on the Eastern European front, where we connected caregivers to families in Germany that were in need of care. And I was always in sales. So at Liquid, after doing sales on my own, I became the sales team lead and then the head of sales later. And at this other company, I was also in like sales leading functions there, in for different teams over different times. So I would say this whole distribution part was always big, and I learned that on one hand, selling, I would say, is always quite similar and doesn't rely so much on the product. But then again, it's a whole different kind of animal if you just sell an ETF to someone and the ETF is always there and the ETF always looks the same and the ETF is always doesn't move. Or if you try to convince a German family to get a Eastern European caregiver with, let's say, mediocre German skills to help your elderly person. Because if you sell like a service with a human involved, everything can go wrong. The caregiver can't be there. So I would say the challenge of selling has been kind of moving me through these stations and helped me, or let's say helped me, but was a great challenge, and it was a huge different challenge at that elderly care platform compared to the asset manager.
At Liquid, you were sitting across like wealthy people and walking them through their portfolios. What did that teach you about what money actually buys?
There's so many war stories I had during this time, but one thing I remember, it was amazing. Uh, I think it's like 75-year-old man. He was calling me. He was in Munich, outside of Munich, and he was looking at his lake, and he said, "Mr. Schumann, I look at my lake. I live in this apartment. It cost me 2 million. I make 1 million a year. I'm 74 year old, and nothing matters if you waste the time here, and money is not important. Found
Mm,
super, super inspiring. Most of the people that had the money, all the money in the world, I would say a lot of them were just super cool people that had the same issues I would say most of other people have in the same way. And a lot of them worried about their time.
mm, interesting. So you worked on, you said cross-border caregiver supply, right? At Marta. What did
Mhm.
that reveal about the human cost of an aging system?
PI cost alert.
The human cost of an aging system. So I think I have the highest respect for everyone working in that industry as well. Like the people that still work at Marta and are working every day to make this work for the families and for the caregivers at the same time, and for the caregivers themselves, because it's an incredibly tough job for these people. They move in there for 3 months. They don't see their kids for a long time. They go there, help out, try to make ends meet at home. They take care of someone they don't know, move into a house they don't know, and all in all, I think it still feels that this system is surprisingly broken. Although in Germany, but in most Western society, this aging problem will get bigger and bigger, and it still seems that there's no true legal framework for a great solution. Although the guys at Mata made this work in a very, very slick way, let's say in a very good way, um, it's still there's so many challenges every day to make sure that if your father or grandfather needs someone to support them, that there is someone in the house that you can afford as a family, as well. And you get to hear and listen to so much pain on all fronts, and it can be heartbreaking. You can really get lost in these stories of families, you know, crying because their father can't be supported because they can't afford it, or a caregiver wanting to go home to their kids because there's someone in need and someone is sick, and it's just a lot of weight.
Mm, yeah. So, when did AI stop being, just like a buzzword for you, and when did it start feeling like a tool that you could actually build with?
I think when I discovered Lovable, it was it was in in February 2025. Lovable was 2 3 months old, I think. Um, and I started trying to experiment with how to build an onboarding for. Back then we had a different name. We're called Seelenfreund, which is like soul friend in German. Um, and I was trying to build an onboarding with this clickable website builder tool. It wasn't Webflow, it was something else. I don't remember. And it was just awful experience. And then I
It
opened up
wasn't
Lovable.
Bubble, was it? It wasn't Bubble,
I
was it?
think
No,
I think it
it
was
might have
Bubble.
been.
I think so.
Might have
Yeah,
been, right? Yeah, 'cause I
it
remember
sounds like
tinkering
it.
with that one too. Okay, and then
And
you
then
discovered.
I wrote like 5 messages to Lovable, and I built this huge website. I was like, oh my god, I
Oh
just
my
discovered
god.
fire. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
good
yeah, it's
time.
it's crazy. It's crazy where this tech's taking us. So, was there a specific moment, like a conversation or something where that kind of planted silo in your head?
Yes. So there was a time when a lot of people around me and friends in Berlin, they had a lot of struggles with their mental health, and they were right at this intersection of, should I go to therapy? I don't know how to get there. Who do I contact? How do I do this? Kind of, what do I need to do? And then people sometimes started researching, sometimes they ended not researching. I was like, why is it such a burden to do this and such a big problem to get there and go there? And then I started researching on the topic and got into prevention tools and what's out there. And I tested a bunch of apps that seemed all the same. yeah, or like overloaded, overcrowded, 50 different articles and 50 different tools. None of them actually work. And it's not individualized. It's all just like one size fits all kind of environment. I was like, that's bad. And then at the same time, I had this experience of meditation being a good tool in itself for me, but still not really hitting the nerve right away. And then I had this idea of kind of using AI now that's available to personalize that experience and creating a mental health app that isn't overloaded, where you just have a chat that's like kind of your focal point, and then you have the meditations that are created out of it, which is
So,
much
so,
simpler.
walk me through the first time the prototype produced a meditation that actually worked on you. Like what did that feel like?
Oh God. I remember very profoundly. I was on a balcony, the sun was shining. It was a great day in Berlin in spring 2025. And I written the entire, like most of the text of the meditation and myself, and used 11 Labs to create the first audio snippet. 11 Labs back then was also not even close to as great as today. So I sat outside and did that whole meditation, and it was so personalized for me of that situation of, starting a company and being in that situation, and the fear and the goals at the same time. And I remember opened my eyes. It's like, we will make this happen. We have to share exactly this experience with the world.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And what did you have to kind of like unlearn from finance to build a consumer product?
Unlearn from finance, I think it's the whole risk approach. In finance, I learned that, especially coming from Deutsche Bank, I learned that you create the AGB and the terms of use, and then the data privacy. And if it's not 50 pages, you can't launch. That's kind of the go-to. And then I had to learn that if you launch a website, product, whatever, it's the biggest thing just for yourself, and nobody in the world cares about. Nobody's going to visit your website. Nobody's going to care about your product. Nobody's going to use it. Just get out there and start iterating from there, compared to working in your cave for 2 years to bring something out that is like not in touch with the user base at all.
Most AI apps talk at you. Silo listens first, right? So why does that matter?
Why does that matter? Because to personalize something, you need to know how you feel and where you're at in your life.
Hmm,
With no context, there's no personalization.
interesting. So where do you draw the line on like kind of what AI should and shouldn't do inside a person's like emotional life?
So I think, especially wherever we might go with AI in 5 to 10 years, I think it's more important of where we are today. And that's like, if you have a specific illness, trauma, sickness, you are in like a very detrimental, kind of terrible type of situation. I would always, and we also do that in the app, before the app, and everywhere else, recommend to use professional and seek professional help, because AI won't cure your trauma, or won't cure your sickness, and you cannot meditate yourself out of like suicidal topics, let's say. Yeah. So I think there I would always highly recommend to meet up with a professional, even though it takes maybe 6 months of waiting time, or there's other solutions where you can visit a therapist via digital therapy, etc. But outside of that, I think there's really a lot of room to move, right? Reflect on your thoughts, reflect on your decisions, reflect on messages. How many times do I write like a mad email, and then I ask like some LLM, is that right, or am I a bit harsh here? I think there's nothing bad in getting some reflection, or personalize your gym plan, or um, let your AI review your legal docs. Doesn't mean that you don't need to go to a professional legal advisor then for the final draft, but I think to get there, AI can and will support us in every way. I don't see any limits, actually.
And if Silo works the way you want it to, let's say in 5 years, what does the user's daily life look like?
I don't think we're going to take 5 years, but uh, I think I hope we will move away from screens at some point and will rely much more on audio because screens just seems unnatural to me in like a lot of ways. We're currently working on multiple like wearable integrations. So, for example, you have an Apple Watch. You just say to your Apple Watch, "Hey, um, quickly read my vitals. I need the fitting meditation," and then it will be like, "Yeah, I already know your heart rate is elevated. I already drafted that meditation. Just put in your AirPods or your plug in your headphones, whatever. We can start right away." So make this like transition, this context sharing, much easier. And also users will get, for example, in the evening, small reminder, hey, you wanted to do your evening wind down, already created it based on all the data that you automatically share with me. Here, tap in and listen to it. Or as a parent, we had a lot of great ideas from some users. They would love individual stories for their kids, like bedtime stories. Our core customer group most of the times are parents because they have stress like no one else. I can only imagine. I don't have any kids yet, but they they love having the 5 to 10 minutes just for themselves. And they said, why don't you do bedtime stories? Yeah, and we can do. I think we can do all kinds of things. Also, building up this profile over time. Silo could also recommend you friends nearby, could recommend you dating partners nearby, right? If you share all your data in there, it could be like, hey, do you want me to share your data with someone else that might be interesting for you, just like as a dating platform? So I think there's various ways to go in all directions.
But I guess you don't want to go down the headspace route though, right? And just over clutter and become like the everything app again. So it's a bit of a
Hmm.
slippery slope. But
Yeah, you're
I
right.
like the way you're thinking though. It's amazing, fascinating. Noah, this has been an exciting interview. Wow, we've got 30 people listening to us right now live. Really, really appreciate all of you. Maybe help me land the plane. What do people need to know? What's the website? Where are you sharing your stream of consciousness? Do you blog or tweet or and maybe yeah, let's bring this one to a close.
Sure. Thank you so much. Has been a pleasure, Sunny. Thank you so much. So our website is silodigital.com, where you can kind of browse through what we do and who we do that with and why we
And
do
that's
it.
SYLO, right? Not SILO.
Ex-
Mhm.
exactly. Yes. And we're live in the app stores. I usually post on LinkedIn every now and then some thoughts, some memes. Give me a like and a comment. We're also active on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. But I think LinkedIn for this type of content is the best platform.
Cool. I would love to try the app, and I'm sure many others would too. And this is awesome, man. Great job. And yeah, welcome to the light side, I guess. It's awesome. I love it. I love everything about it. Cool. Thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, until next time. Just hang back for one
Yes,
second, Noah. Let me bring this
easy.
one to an end. Cool.